Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. I'm Kathryn from Research Rockstar, and today I'd like to talk about moderating online focus groups. We have a bunch of students here at Research Rockstar who have experience moderating in-person focus groups, and we're seeing that they're increasingly being asked to now moderate online focus groups. How transferable are those skills? What are the things that you need to know in order to make the transition from moderating in-person focus groups to online focus groups successful? Well, let's first talk about how the experience of moderating in these two environments is really different. When we're in an in-person focus group, we're typically at a focus group facility where we have maybe 8 to 12 in-person participants. And when we're online, when we're doing an online focus group, we may be in a situation where we may be doing a video or a chat-based online focus group. Those are two really common formats. So in a video-based online focus groups, you're going to see the windows with your participants. You can see their actual webcam views, so you can see their faces. Or you may have a chat-based online focus group where it really is a chat. It is a text-based environment. There are no videos. So there's no video of the moderator, nor is there video of the participants. So there are a couple of different variations that you're going to experience with online focus groups. So how is actually moderating those online focus groups different than an in-person group? Well, the first thing that's really different is that with an online focus group, you can have more than one moderator. And an in-person focus group, that typically wouldn't happen. Although I will say that in my career, and I've done over 200 focus group projects over the course of my career, I would say of the ones that were in-person focus groups, there were a few where I did have a co-moderator. And in those cases, it was because they had a very deep subject matter expertise. There was a time in my career I did a lot of really technical IT-related groups with IT executives, and there were a couple of cases where I needed to have somebody who was more technical than I was in the room, and actually that person wasn't technically a moderator per se, they were actually a subject matter expert, but I gave them some light training ahead of the group so that they could participate while mitigating the risk of them inadvertently biasing responses. So it does sometimes happen, but it's super, super rare. It's much easier and frankly more cost effective in an online focus group because now it's not like you're sending two people to travel. So the cost of not only hiring a second moderator, but their travel can really make having more than one moderator, frankly, just not a feasible option for most in-person focus groups. But you can do it in an online focus group. And this can be really great so that in an online focus group, when you have a lot of activity, that you can have a primary moderator who's really driving the conversation, who's really responsible for making sure that the objectives are being met. But you can have a secondary moderator who can follow up on select probes or specific subgroups. So for example, I've done groups where I was the primary moderator in an online focus group, but we had a group that included both people who had a certain type of education, say college level or above versus high school or below. And I wanted the secondary moderator to especially focus on the high school and below group because in my experience, they were a little bit shyer in the online format. So I wanted that second moderator there to be probing that specific group. So they had the list of participants, they knew who they should be particularly following up with to make sure they were comfortable and engaged. You might also divide it up in terms of specific objectives. Hey, whenever we hear somebody comment about this type of, say, brand attribute for our client, follow up with those folks. That way the secondary moderator can do some important assigned follow-ups without detracting from the whole group. As the primary moderator, you can stay focused on the overall flow and objectives and let that secondary moderator follow up on specific assignments. That can be a really nice benefit. Another key difference between moderating in person and online is that in an online focus group, you can collect a lot more information in less time. So very often we will run online focus groups for 90 minutes. Traditional focus groups often run for 2 hours. Do you ever run a 2-hour online focus group? Yes, some folks will do that. In my experience, though, online focus groups can be like drinking from the fire hose, both for the moderator and the participants. So for myself and some other online moderators, we actually find that 90 minutes is perfect. If we go more than that, people frankly get exhausted and we just don't see the same level of engagement. But the good news is that in that 90 minutes, I might actually collect more information than in a 2-hour traditional focus group, especially if it's a text-based focus group, because with a text-based online focus group, when the moderator posts a question, everybody's answering at the same time. They're typing simultaneously. So suddenly the moderator gets 10 responses all at once. Now that can be overwhelming, so you really need to be prepared for that. And there are a couple of different strategies. One strategy is to have that secondary moderator so that you're not the only one in that virtual room trying to manage all of these responses. You have somebody who can kind of help you divide and conquer, if you will. And another strategy is simply to make sure that as you are getting all of these responses, that you're doing a good job of probing in a rotation. That is, as different questions, as you go through different questions in your discussion guide, that you're careful not to follow up with the same people over and over again. You really rotate through your participants because you're not going to follow up with every single person on every single question, but you also don't want to underutilize certain people. You want to make sure that you're really doing a good job of collecting that follow-up feedback from everybody in your group. And again, a second moderator can be one way to make sure that you do that. Another big difference between traditional in-person focus groups and online focus groups is that you have to be the star. As the moderator, you have to be really extra engaging. You have to have a lot of good energy that you are projecting into that room. Now, I know what you're thinking, Kathryn, how do I project energy, especially if it's a chat-based focus group? You still can do it. It has to do with your word choices. It has to do with your, it has to do with the speed with which you run the group. It has to do with the enthusiasm in terms of your probes and the speed with which you deliver probes and respond to people. If somebody says something funny, you want to acknowledge with a ha-ha. You know, you want to give them those cues that you're really listening and that you're really engaged. If you just run it as a dry Q&A, it's going to get very boring very fast. And this can take a little bit of practice. Knowing how to be engaging either when you're running a video-based online focus group or a chat-based online focus group does take some effort. Now, the reason why this is so important is because in an online focus group, your participants typically have more distractions. They may be working from home where there are pets or children around, or they're at an office where people might be walking by their office door, and there can be a lot of distractions. Obviously, when you're in an in-person focus group at a facility, those things are already controlled for, right? So you do have more competition in an online focus group in terms of competition for your participants' true engagement with you. Now, the truth is that you also have the reality that different people are different. Some of your participants will really thrive in the anonymity of an online group. They will be very candid. They will love sharing. In fact, I often find that in an online focus groups that people are very forthcoming. But again, not all people are the same, and some people actually withdraw a bit in an online focus group. There's research about this also, where we find that some people simply don't do as well with their engagement if they don't have the feedback of eye contact and other, body signals, if you will, body language signals from the moderator and other participants. So some people really need that feedback in order to engage. And so again, as the moderator, you have to make sure everybody's involved and you have to really be super engaging to keep the group going. So again, those were 3 big differences between moderating in person and online, as just a few of the key things you can think about as you say to yourself, hey, do I want to start moderating online? And if I'm somebody who's already got experience as an in-person moderator, what are the big differences I need to be prepared for? Well, you have to be prepared for the fact that You can have more than one moderator, and if that's a strategy you want to take advantage of, plan ahead. You have to be prepared for sheer volumes of information because it can be overwhelming, and you also have to be extra engaging. So even if you think you are an incredible dynamic personality, really think about what tactics you can use to make sure that you come across as engaging in either your video or text-based online focus groups. Now, I'm a huge fan of online focus groups. I think they have a lot of benefits, and I think that if you are somebody who's coming in from in-person focus groups, that a lot of your skills are transferable, that's great. If you have no experience moderating at all, that's fine too. Sure, you've got a little bit more of a learning curve as compared to your colleagues who have previously moderated in-person groups, but it's absolutely a learnable skill set. So just be aware that what you want to do is develop skills that are really specific to that online environment. It truly is notably different than managing in-person focus groups. By the way, we have a few more videos in this conversation series. So if you are interested in learning more about focus groups and moderating focus groups, please do check out the video series Conversations for Research Rockstars on YouTube. And of course, there is the audio companion on iTunes. And some of these points are extracted from a longer article on the same topic. So please do check out the article on the Research Rockstar blog at researchrockstar.com/blog. And by the way, if you've been enjoying this series, please do like, review, and subscribe. It helps us to get more love from the YouTube and iTunes search engines. So please do continue to enjoy the conversation, participate, add comments, and please, please, please do subscribe and review. If you have any questions, be sure to post them here. And of course, you can always follow me on Twitter at ResearchRocks or contact me at researchrockstar.com. Thanks, folks, and have a great day.